What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the early previews for Tarkir Dragonstorm, and these were actually revealed at MagicCon Chicago today, and there's some pretty cool stuff to look at. There's not a crazy amount of cards, but I do think what we got gives us a good look at what to expect from the set, and so we're going to jump into it and just kind of take a look at what we know so far. If you guys do enjoy the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos are posted, and as always, feel free to sound off in the comment section down below, and let me know what you guys think of the cards up to this point. So Tarkir Dragonstorm is the first core set that we're getting, or I say core set, it's not really a core set, but the first like non-Universes Beyond set that we're getting coming up, which is going to be in April. So this is actually a really interesting set to follow up Aether Drift, because I think people really like Tarkir. I think obviously you have some people who are divided, but the 5 different clans and the different color combinations open up a lot of fun possibilities. And of course we know we're going to be getting 5 brand new mythic dragons, which is exciting if you're a fan of that type of thing. So this set is coming out on I think it's April 11th, so the previews will actually start probably somewhere in mid-March, but the early vendor previews are what we have to work with right now, and we'll go through the set and kind of talk about some of the different things we can collect, as well as look at a few of the new cards. So we've got Sarkhan Dragon Ascendant, which is 1 in a red, legendary creature, human druid. When it enters, you may behold a dragon. If you do, create a treasure token. Now, behold is a new mechanic here in the set, and in order to behold, you either choose a dragon you control or reveal one in your hand. There have been some cards that utilize similar effects before, but I don't believe they were ever called anything specifically, so that's the first time we're seeing this. Whenever a dragon you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarkhan. Until end of turn, it becomes a dragon in addition to its other types and gains flying. So it's pretty cool. I like the artwork on it a lot. I don't necessarily think it's incredibly strong, but still 2 mana to make a treasure and then also get some buffs when you play dragons is not bad. I think we've gotten some better Sarkhans, but they're typically planeswalkers with the exception of a couple. Overall, I think he's solid. I think there's a reason they made him a rare instead of a mythic, but he still seems interesting enough, and as we'll talk about in just a minute, he's got a couple of really cool variants too, so there's a lot of different things to look forward to on that front. Now, Narset Jeskai Waymaster is a blue-red-white legendary human monk. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. So it's obviously designed to work really well with, I think, Spellslinger type decks or Storm, where you're playing a lot of low-cost spells to maximize your resources in your hand. But someone pointed out, too, on Reddit that you can utilize it with, like, a lot of the plot cards from Outlaws, where you're able to play a bunch of stuff and then draw some extra resources up. It depends on how you're going to make it work, but I do think this is going to be a pretty popular card. On the surface, I don't necessarily see where it's super strong in Standard, but that doesn't mean it isn't. We obviously have a lot of other variables to take into consideration, but I think as a commander, it does have a ton of potential, and obviously the colors it gives you access to work really well within the Storm mechanics. Now, for Tarkir Dragonstorm itself, it's basically just going to be the main set and then the commander set, and of course special guests as usual. So there's no subset with this like there's going to be for Final Fantasy, which we did talk about in a previous video. If you guys didn't catch the Final Fantasy video, I will put a link in the description down below so you can check that out. But that's actually the standard set that's going to be coming out in June. It'll follow up Tarkir Dragonstorm, and I think it has a lot of hype around it. But I don't think we should discount this set yet because I do think it actually has a lot of really cool things to like. Just a couple of quick notes on MSRP. The play boosters will be $5.49, collector boosters at $25, commander decks at $45, and then bundles will be around $54. A little expensive on the bundles. I think they're up a couple bucks, but I'm not really sure what Aether Drifts were either. Typically, I think if you go to Target, they're right around that $55 price point. It's kind of a little costly in my opinion, but if you like the promo or the spin down, it can be worth it. Hopefully with the commander decks, they'll kind of adhere to that. I know with Aether Drift, the zombie commander deck was definitely commanding a higher price point at like LCSs and stuff because it was just generally a more expensive secondary market option. But I've been able to find both of them at Target at retail, which is good if you want to get those. A couple of important dates that are coming up as well, just to note. Previews will begin on March 18th, and we'll have the full card gallery on March 28th. The pre-release events start April 4th through the 10th, and then, of course, it'll be on Arena on the 8th, and we'll have it worldwide release on the 11th. So, a bit of a while out, but that's okay, because we still kind of have Aether Drift out now for a couple months to really get some traction, and no pun intended there, of course, with the racing. And it'll be interesting to see this set. I do think it deserves the opportunity to really get its own, time to breathe. Especially if it's coming out a little bit quicker. There's some story details. We know we're getting another Ugin card in the set. It has not been revealed yet, but the artwork looks really cool, assuming that's what this is. The Ugin preview that I saw had like a full-on Planeswalker variant art borderless. Honestly, I don't think there's been too many Ugins that have bad arts in general, so just kind of food for thought, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they actually give him and whether or not he's as strong as some of the previous counterparts are. Now, we've got a couple other cards here that they did release with the previews. Baron Step Siege is 2 white-black enchantment. As it enters, choose either Abzan or Mardu. If you choose the first one, at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If you choose Mardu, at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. I do like the versatility a card like this has. Certainly in Commander, it's really good in decks like Taste of Karlov, I think, right off the bat. Fits into the color combinations and works really well with, honestly, either effect to either buff up some of your weaker creatures that have death triggers, or, you know, just to make your opponent sack stuff if they kill them off. It's not necessarily the craziest card ever, but it's pretty good, and I think there's a lot of Orzhov decks that'll be able to make use of it. This is just kind of what the borderless treatments look like. They do say the borderless will be available in everything, obviously. There is a serialized card in this set, and this is the first we're actually talking about it in the video. It is MOX Jasper. There is a brand new MOX, which is kind of crazy. When I saw this, I was like, wow, that's kind of wild. It is a 0-drop legendary artifact. This is add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control a dragon. Now, there is going to be a serialized run of this to 500 in the set. It'll probably be a very, very expensive card. I'm assuming well over $1,000, maybe $2,000, depending on its playability. Seeing a new MOX here is crazy. I think the last time we got one was probably Dominaria United with MOX Amber, and even then I don't remember if that was new. It's been a while, and that was like one of the early sets when I started getting back into the game. Part of me feels like that card may have existed before, but then another part of me is like, no, it's definitely new to that set. I don't know. You guys let me know, because fucking I end up getting way over the place there. But this is going to be a really expensive card, obviously, for the serialized version. It does have some other versions, too. The coolest part is it's drawn by Dan Frazier, who drew a lot of the original Moxin as well. So there's a cool throwback there in Magic history, and obviously will be a good chase card for people to go after. They did show a little bit of an interactive, kind of the double rainbow foil. This looks super cool. I think, generally speaking, having like one serialized card per set is pretty solid. It adds a bit of chase to the top end, but not, it doesn't make it like, you know, crazy scalping prices and whatnot. I think, you know, that's a pretty good thing. If they've found a balance where there's like 1 to maybe 3, like they did with Eldrazi and Modern Horizons, you know, obviously some variety there is something I'm quite okay with. Now, we also know that we have some additional foil showcase treatments, I suppose they are. If you see the Mox Jasper and Sarkhan that they show, they have almost like a, I don't know, you call it like some kind of dragon scale on the outside. I do think these look really cool. Both of these are available in everything, and they do remind me of some of the other showcase that we already have established, but they look awesome, and I feel like in foil they're going to look even cooler. I don't know if there's an official name yet for them, what the foiling styling is, but it is definitely looks like it's a bit of a dragon scale type. And that's going to be something that you're going to want to kind of keep an eye out for. We also have Ghostfire, which is going to be available only in collector boosters. So this is a specialized version. Ghostfire being Ugin's like magic power that he casts or whatever. You'll see there's a different format for the banner, as well as some of the frame on the outside. This does look really cool, and I think despite the fact that like Sarkhan is a rare in the main set, all of the Ghostfire variants will be mythic. So there's 10 of them total, and they'll all be available as mythics. We've got Skirmish Rhino over here, which, of course, if you guys remember Siege Rhino from way back in cons, this feels like it's a bit of a, I don't know if I'm going to call it like a throwback or a bit of a love letter to that. It is white, black, green, creature Rhino with trample. When it enters, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This card is a rare normally in the set. It's only a mythic in this special variant treatment. It's decent enough, I suppose. I just, 3 colors for that effect doesn't exactly make me feel like it's a must play or anything. But I mean, dealing damage to the opponents, gaining some life, and having a 3/4 with trample isn't the worst. This set as a whole is obviously going to be very well focused on the, the 3 color, the different guilds and stuff. It looks cool. I really appreciate the throwback to Siege Rhino, which is very much outclassed up to this point, but it's still a neat card in and of itself. Now, we also have 10 cards that are receiving special Ghostfire treatments, which will be a frame kind of, you can see here, the halo foil on the outside, where it almost has like these textured layers. There's only 10 of these, and these, again, are also exclusively to collector boosters. Any that end up being really strong, I bet will have a pretty high price tag. I can only imagine that Mox Jasper will, in fact, have one, so it'll probably be a good chase there. But we have plenty of cards we haven't seen any reveals for yet that are likely going to have this treatment as well, so it's something to keep an eye on as we get going. They will appear in Japanese in the Japanese collector boosters, and then they'll be in English and Japanese, it says, in other collector boosters. So there's only 2 different language variants, but they look really, really cool. And this is nice to see Halo foiling coming back, but also kind of working it in with another foil style. I like it. Now, a couple of other cards I just wanted to touch on quickly before we wrap up the video. We've got Smile at Death, which is an enchantment that is 3 white. At the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creatures with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. 5 mana is a pretty heavy investment, especially for standard, but being able to bring back 2 creatures, especially with power 2 or less, is definitely not something to sneeze at. There is a lot of potential combos with this card across various formats. A commander certainly is going to be able to make use of this. I mentioned Taste of Karlov earlier as a deck that can probably utilize this quite well, especially because a lot of the lower cost creatures that you play that do have death triggers have 2 or less power. So right off the bat, there's a lot of different ways to kind of bring them back, get additional triggers, and also buff them up with counters. This is just a really cool card. It's interesting in its design, and I have to do a little bit more research just to see what type of things it may have some more interaction with. An inevitable defeat is 1 red, white, black. This is an instant that can't be countered. It says exile target non-land permanent. Its controller loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Not exactly the greatest card ever, but I do think in standard it might have some application. The 3 color requirement is certainly kind of frustrating because there are some cards that cost less that do similar things, but the non-counterable as well as dealing some extra damage certainly makes it at least worth a second look. I don't think it's a crazy card by any stretch, but it's not exactly terrible, and the fact that it can't be countered does allow you to have some answers for like blue decks that just are trying to say nope to everything you attempt to activate. And we've got Shiko, Paragon of the Way, which is 2 blue, white, red. Legendary creature, Spirit Dragon with Flying and Vigilance. When it enters, you exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. It's okay. We know we're going to have 5 legendary dragons here, 1 for each of the 3 color combinations. This one's definitely not the strongest. I mean, it's not a terrible card or anything, but mana value 3 or less limits your ability to copy stuff, especially for something that's going to cost 5 to bring out. But there are definitely going to be some ways you can make use of this, especially if you're playing in that color combination, perhaps. It's a little disappointing as a mythic on the surface, but again, it'll be a card that'll require digging into a little bit more to see whether or not there's some combos that we're missing. And just a couple of other quick notes. So we know we're getting play boosters for this, which is pretty straightforward. Collector boosters as well seem to feature Ugin. I can't wait to see what his effects actually do. There will be 5 commander decks for this set, 1 for each of the color guilds from cons. It's a lot, but it's also kind of makes sense when you consider the different guilds, and so there'll be some interesting cards to look at there. And then we've got a bundle, and we've got 5 different pre-release kits, 1 for each of the 5 clans from Tarkir. It does say as well that those clans will actually have a specific booster in it that will have cards that focus specifically on your color combination. So that's unique. I know they've done it in the past, I think with maybe Dragons of Tarkir way back, where you had some clan-seeded specific things. But it's definitely going to be interesting from the play release perspective to see kind of what things you can get in there. This is the early look at Tarkir Dragonstorm. I'm really excited for the set. I think the dragon stuff is really cool. Obviously, this is a big year for Magic with a lot of huge releases, but I do think this is one to keep an eye on with a lot of dragon support and a lot of really cool cards coming out. You never know what we might end up getting, and I think it looks fun on the surface. Plus, special guests and stuff. Tarkir, maybe we get some special guest fetch lands or other big cards that are dragons that haven't been reprinted in quite a while that people have been looking forward to. So that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of these early reveals. Spoilers start about a month from now, so we'll be able to talk about that a bit more in depth as we get there. But I think there's some other things we can cover in the coming weeks that'll maybe dive a little bit deeper into the set and what it's got to offer. But otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.